Beloved, I saw the moment you paused in your day, caught off guard by the smile of a stranger, so brief, so unexpected, yet so strangely comforting, and I whisper to you now, that was not an accident, not a coincidence, not a passing face in a sea of people, but a messenger placed in your path by divine instruction, carrying not words, but presence, intention, and energy from heaven itself. And though the moment passed so quickly, the ripple it stirred in your spirit did not fade, and I want you to know that I, the one who holds your heart and walks beside you in the silence, orchestrated that encounter to remind you that I see you, I hear the questions you never say out loud, I feel the loneliness you tried to numb, and I recognize the depth of the battle you've been silently enduring, for there are days when even your faith feels thin. When you doubt if anyone truly understands the weight you carry or the emptiness you mask behind your strength, but heaven has never left you, and that smile, that gentle, almost surreal glance from a person you've never met, was a coded whisper from the divine, a soft interruption in the chaos of your day meant to shift something deep inside of you, to awaken your awareness to the fact that I've been sending signs, hints, echoes, and nudges all around you, and this one, this simple moment, was one you couldn't ignore because something in you recognized it. Even if you couldn't explain why, and you may be wondering, why a stranger, why something so small when I've been asking for something so big, but my child, it is in the smallest vessels that I often carry the most sacred messages, and when your heart is too weary to hear my voice in prayer, I send my voice through the kindness of others, through their eyes, their smiles, their gestures, because love does not need to speak loudly to be heard by a soul that's listening, and I know how you've been waiting, for direction, for relief, for confirmation, for something to make sense again. And I tell you now that help is not only on the way, it's already near you, circling you, preparing to collide with your timeline in a way that will leave no room for doubt that heaven is deeply involved in your story. And you may not have realized it yet, but that moment was the beginning of a divine breadcrumb trail, a sequence of gentle clues that will lead you out of confusion and into clarity. Because I have seen the nights you cried without tears, the prayers you prayed with no words, the strength it took just to keep breathing when everything in your world felt like it was unraveling, and you did not break. I was holding you even when you didn't feel me, and now, I am beginning to shift the atmosphere around you, realigning divine appointments, and sending you glimpses of my presence in places you least expect, and that stranger was not just a person passing by, they were sent. Because even the angels can appear as humans when the message must reach you in a form you're ready to receive, and you were ready that day, even if you didn't know it, because somewhere beneath the burden, your soul still hoped, still believed, still waited for me to reveal myself in a way that felt real, not just in sermons, not just in scriptures, but in your living, breathing world. And I did, I am, and I will continue to do so. And you must know this too, that every smile you give to others, every moment you offer kindness when no one is watching, is recorded in heaven and sometimes redirected right back to you in the hour of your greatest need. And so I whispered to that stranger's heart that day, "Smile at my child, for they need to know I am near." And they obeyed, without knowing why, because the hearts I use do not always understand the mission, they simply move when I move them, and that is how my divine interventions often appear, ordinary on the outside, yet supernatural in timing, precision, and effect. And if you could only see the number of divine hands currently moving on your behalf, the spiritual network that surrounds your life, the prayers that have been lifted over you, some by people you've never even met, some by loved ones long gone but still speaking your name in the chambers of heaven, you would stop doubting and start expecting, because heaven is not waiting to see if you're worthy. Heaven already knows you are, and now it is time for the veil to begin lifting, for your spiritual ears to tune in, and your heart to notice the divine choreography unfolding all around you. And though the pain you've endured was real, though the heartbreak tried to define you, though rejection threatened your identity, I have been quietly rewriting the narrative, setting the stage for a comeback that will not just bless you, but astonish those who watched you fall. And the message in that smile was simple: you are not forgotten. And that truth will begin to manifest in your circumstances in ways you cannot deny, for I will confirm it again and again, in people, in places, in timing, and even in your dreams. And yes, you will receive a second sign soon, something else unexpected, yet undeniably marked with peace and divine familiarity. And when you do, your spirit will remember this moment, this message, and you'll realize that the breakthrough you've been praying for has already started to unfold, not with fireworks, but with divine whispers wrapped in the ordinary. And beloved, this is just the beginning. And I need you to know, beloved, that what you felt in that moment was not imagination, not wishful thinking, not a desperate mind trying to find meaning where there was none, but rather the echo of heaven reaching into your earthly moment, touching you so gently it almost felt unreal. Because when I move in ways that bypass logic and enter directly into the realm of spirit, and your spirit, though tired, though heavy, though worn by this life, recognized that something divine had just happened, even if your mind couldn't put it into words. And now I need you to lean in, to stay alert, to remain soft in a world that has tried so hard to make you hard, because what I am about to unfold in your life will require a heart that is willing to believe again, to feel again, to trust again, even after all the ways that trust has been betrayed before, even after all the times you were left waiting for someone to choose you, to value you, to stay, only for them to walk away when you needed them most. And yes, I know all of it. I was there when your voice cracked under the weight of prayers that felt unanswered, when your strength broke in the middle of the night, and your soul whispered, "God, are you even real?" I heard you, and I never turned my face from you, not once, not even when you doubted me, not even when you felt like giving up on faith itself, because I know what life has done to you, I know how deeply the wounds go, I know how tired you are of fighting invisible battles while trying to smile for the world, and still, I'm telling you, this moment marks the beginning of a spiritual reversal. A divine unraveling of everything that's been tying you down, because that smile from the stranger wasn't just a one-time sign, it was a signal that the heavens have begun opening over your life again, that something you thought was lost forever is now circling its way back into your future, but with new clarity, with healing, with purpose. And yes, there is something coming that will leave you speechless, not because it is dramatic, but because it is precise, personal, and perfectly timed. And what you are about to receive is not merely a blessing, but a confirmation that I have been with you all along, in the mess, in the silence, in the confusion, in the waiting room of your life where you thought I had forgotten your name, and now I'm bringing you out, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, into a season where you will begin to see signs stitched into your ordinary days, a message from someone you thought was long gone, a divine appointment with someone you didn't expect to cross paths with again. And even a moment soon where you will be the one giving the smile, unaware that I'll be using you to speak into someone else's pain, just as I used another to speak into yours, because you're not only being healed, you're being positioned, you're being trained, you're being transformed, and while it may seem like you've been forgotten, you have in fact been set apart, hidden for a purpose. Protected from opportunities that would have felt good but would have led you down roads that would have stolen your soul's peace. And I know you grieved over the things I removed, the people I allowed to walk away, the doors I never let open. But my beloved, I did it all with eyes that see what you cannot, with love that protects even when it feels like abandonment. And now that the fire has refined you and not destroyed you, now that the storm has shaken away everything that wasn't rooted in truth, I am preparing to restore, not what was, but what's better, what's higher. What's aligned with the calling I placed inside you before you were ever born. And yes, it will shock even you, because you've forgotten just how deeply I've marked you for impact, just how specific your assignment is, and how nothing, no heartbreak, no mistake, no delay, has derailed your destiny, for every detour was recalculated in real time by my grace, and every misstep was covered by my mercy, and even now, you are closer than you think, closer than you feel. And that is why I'm sending messages in the form of smiles, of interruptions, of moments that seem small on the surface but carry heaven's fingerprints all over them, because I need you to feel again, to sense again, to expect again, and I promise, if you stay open, if you stay listening, you will begin to notice how many people I've assigned to speak into your journey, people you've never met before, people whose timing feels too perfect to be chance, people who say exactly what you needed to hear without knowing your pain. Because I've trained them in secret, just as I've been training you, and soon the pieces will connect, the past will begin to make sense, and the tears you cried in confusion will turn into tears of relief as you realize that I never wasted your waiting, I never ignored your cries, I never once let you walk alone, and now, a new rhythm is entering your life, not a storm, not a battle, but a gentle cadence of restoration, of renewal, of peace that doesn't need explanation, because it will be felt. Not forced, and it will feel like coming home after a long exile, like being seen after years of invisibility, like hearing your own name spoken by heaven in a way that makes you remember who you really are beneath the pain and fear and fatigue, and all of it, every divine moment that's coming next, was set in motion the day I saw you pause in the presence of a stranger's smile, because I saw your heart respond, even for a second, and that was enough for me to step in again, to whisper again. To unfold the next chapter you stopped believing was still possible, and beloved, this next part will be different, because this time, you're not chasing, I'm bringing it to you. You've been questioning whether anything truly divine could still find its way to you after everything you've endured, whether heaven could possibly be reaching out in a world that has taught you to armor up, stay suspicious, expect abandonment before it even arrives. But I tell you now, what you experienced in that brief glance, in that quiet, almost forgettable smile, was one of the most powerful forms of communication I could send. Because you weren't looking for it, you weren't praying for a miracle in that moment, and that is exactly why it pierced you so deeply, because it arrived in your weariness, not in your worship, in your walking, not in your waiting, and heaven loves to move when no one's expecting it, because that's when your heart is unguarded enough to receive without filtering. And that's when my spirit can slip between the cracks of your logic and speak directly into the aching corners of your soul you forgot how to put into words, and I want you to understand that. Stranger didn't know the weight you were carrying, didn't know the conversation you had with me the night before, didn't know how close you came to quitting something I asked you to keep going in, didn't know that you were secretly hoping for a sign that I hadn't turned my back on you. But I knew all of it, and I orchestrated that exact moment with a precision your mind will never fully grasp, because I knew you'd notice. I knew you'd feel something shift in your chest, something too subtle to explain but too powerful to ignore, and I want you to stop dismissing what you feel when these things happen. I want you to stop telling yourself you're making it up, because the truth is, your sensitivity is a spiritual gift, not a weakness, and that moment was a confirmation that your soul is still open, still listening, still alive even after all the numbness the world tried to force onto you, and that sensitivity, that spiritual radar inside you, is about to become more accurate, more attuned, more activated than it's ever been before, because I'm awakening your discernment in this next season, so much so that you'll begin to see beyond faces, beyond words, beyond surface-level kindness or manipulation or pain. You'll feel spiritual atmospheres. You'll know when something's off even if everything looks perfect. You'll recognize when I'm speaking even when no one's saying my name. Because I've gifted you with perception that pierces the veil, and though you never asked for it, though you sometimes wish you could just be normal and feel nothing too deeply, it is precisely your depth that makes you a threat to darkness, and a weapon in my hand, and I want you to hear me clearly now. This awakening you are undergoing is not random, it's not psychological, it's not emotional oversensitivity, it is the result of spiritual maturity that has been forged in long seasons of isolation, of silence, of tears no one saw, and while others chased stages and platforms, you learn to stand still and listen to my whisper, and now, I'm giving you more clarity, more peace, more direction, and yes, more encounters like that one, because soon there will be a pattern you can't ignore, a rhythm of divine interruptions that seem insignificant but are actually perfectly aligned puzzle pieces coming together to paint the picture of the mission I've been preparing you for since before you even knew who you were. And I know that mission has felt delayed, I know you've wondered if you missed your chance, if you made too many mistakes, if the time has passed, but I want you to hear this in your spirit. Nothing can cancel what I ordained before time, nothing you did wrong has the power to undo what I've already woven into your future, and if I needed perfection, I wouldn't have chosen you, but I didn't choose you for your performance. I chose you for your heart, your honesty, your willingness to feel pain and still keep walking, your ability to be crushed and still love, to be doubted and still believe. And I've watched you love people who never saw you, help people who later hurt you, carry burdens that weren't yours to carry just because you didn't want anyone else to suffer, and all of it, all that quiet goodness that no one applauded, no one posted, no one celebrated, it reached me, it counted, and now I'm about to show you what happens when I reward the ones who stayed kind, stayed soft, stayed faithful even when they felt forgotten, and yes, your enemies will be shocked, but more importantly, you will be healed, not just in body, but in identity, in confidence, in the belief that you were never too broken to be used, never too far gone to be called, and this message I'm placing inside you isn't just for you to keep, it's for others, because the same way I sent someone to deliver light to you in a smile, I will now send you into rooms, into conversations, into brief, holy interruptions that change someone else's course entirely, and it will not require you to preach or perform, only to be, fully, authentically, vulnerably you, and that will be enough, because your very presence will start to carry breakthrough, and you'll begin to notice how people respond to you differently, how strangers open up without knowing why, how tears come when you speak truth and love, and it's not manipulation, it's not ego, it's the anointing I've placed on you. And the world will begin to feel what you carry before they understand what it is, and all of that, yes, all of that, began again the moment you received that smile and let your soul lean in instead of turning away, and that was not small, that was not nothing, that was a signal, a prophetic marker in your timeline. And if you only knew what that one moment has now set into motion, you'd fall to your knees not in fear, but in overwhelming gratitude, because you would realize I have been planning your comeback, your restoration, your rise, all along, and now it has begun. And so now you stand here, still wondering why it felt so divine when everything around you seemed so ordinary, still trying to make sense of why that stranger's brief smile hit something deep in your chest that had been silent for too long. And I am here to tell you, because you were not just smiled at, you were seen. And when heaven sends someone to see you, to truly see you, not just your face, your name, or your outer world, but the very weight you're carrying in silence, it is never random. And I need you to understand this fully now, because too often you have looked for me only in the grand, only in the miracles you could measure, the breakthroughs you could post, the prophecies that came with thunder. But I've been whispering to you through subtleties you've been trained to ignore, and if you could see how often I brushed against your spirit in a moment no one else noticed. How many times I've rerouted your path to protect you from destruction you didn't even know was coming. How many times I've answered your late-night tears by aligning someone's timing just so they would cross your path at the exact second your faith was crumbling. If you could see the map of divine intersections I've been orchestrating, your breath would catch in awe, because you'd finally understand that not one single second of your pain was wasted, not 1 ounce of your hope went unseen, and not one seed of obedience failed to take root in the ground of your destiny. And now, beloved, I am telling you that a shift is underway, one that will begin quietly, the same way that smile began, without announcement, without ceremony, but full of sacred power, because I'm not just sending signs anymore, I'm sending people, divine messengers wrapped in human skin, carriers of comfort, bearers of blessing, strangers who are really disguised answers to prayers you forgot you prayed, and yes, you will know them not by their appearance but by what your spirit feels when they walk into the room. You'll recognize my presence on them before a single word is spoken, and your heart will remember something your mind cannot explain, because when heaven sends a witness into your life, your soul knows before your senses catch up. And I tell you now, one of those witnesses is already on the way, and they carry confirmation, encouragement, and clarity that you will need for the next step of your calling. And though you've spent so long second-guessing yourself, doubting your sensitivity, shrinking your dreams to match what others could understand, I am telling you, you were made to walk with the unusual, the supernatural, the mystery of my voice guiding your every move, and though it has made you feel alienated, even unstable at times, I want you to know this: what made you feel strange in one season will make you stand out in the next, not in isolation but in influence. Because you will become the one others come to when they can no longer deny that the world doesn't satisfy their spirit, when their souls cry out for something real, and your presence, yes, yours, will feel like an answer they didn't know how to ask for, because it is not your words, your intellect, your qualifications that will carry this next assignment. It is your healed heart, your surrendered life, and your obedience to every whisper I place within you, and this is why I have refined you the way I did, why I've let certain people go. Why I've delayed what you thought should have happened by now. Because I wasn't just preparing a blessing for you, I was preparing you for the weight of it, the spiritual capacity required to carry it without breaking under it, and now you are almost ready, and the confirmation will not come from where you expected, but from someone unexpected, someone sent, someone unlikely, and you'll feel it the moment it happens, that same chill, that same unspoken knowing, that same feeling you got from the smile. But this time, it won't be brief, it will be an unfolding, and your job now is to stay awake, to stay open, to stop writing off the small things as nothing, because I am speaking through them all, and in the coming weeks, you will look back and realize that everything started shifting the moment you decided not to dismiss the moment I touched you through the presence of a stranger, because that was not just a sign, it was the opening of a spiritual door, and now that door is swinging wide. And what's on the other side is not just the answer to your private prayers, but a calling that will reach others beyond what you can even see from here. So be still and know, stay faithful and trust, and watch as heaven begins to speak louder, not in volume, but in frequency, in patterns, in people, and in you.